But anyway, so in the months following this, I began to feel energy in my hands pulsating. I could feel other people's energy. I could feel if they were, I could sense if they were, either feeling negative, positive. If someone was, say, guilty or lying about something, I would feel their guilt. And it grew increasingly difficult for me to be around negative people and negativity. It wasn't compatible with my energy anymore. I'm just gonna go back in the story a little bit because, and I wasn't gonna mention this in this video. I was gonna keep it to myself, but I'm just gonna say it, like, I need to be authentic. Do you know what I mean? Okay, so after I'd had this awakening and like I felt like I could go back to the stars kind of thing. I would look at the sky of a night time, and I'd see little things that could have been aeroplanes. I'd just see little lights and things, probably airplanes, but something instinctually inside me thought, oh, it might be a UFO. Okay, right. And instinctually, something that just came to me naturally, right, which I've never even thought possible before, never thought to do this before, ever. I thought, let's try and telepathically communicate with it. So I sent like a telepathic message out. I was like, hey, it's Lou, whatever. Honestly, didn't think anything was going to come of this, and it may not even be connected. But a couple of weeks after this, I was lying down to go to sleep one night again. The bathroom light was on and the door was like slightly ajar, so it was dark enough for me to not see shadows when I closed my eyes. So imagine, say, someone come and stood over me, I wouldn't necessarily see the shadow because it was dark enough. But at the same time, there was just enough light to be able to tell if there was something. So anyway, I've got my eyes closed, I'm like about to go to sleep, and then, okay, first of all, I felt this energy. I felt this really, really strong, dense energy, and I had my eyes closed, and a whole fucking figure was stood over me. It was as though there was a person stood leaning over me. I'm not even joking. And then another one of these figure things came round the other side of me, and it's like they're both looking down, observing me, right? They're stood right next to me, like, observing me. I opened my eyes to see if there was anything there, but there was nothing there. I looked around my room, there was nothing there. I could still feel the energy. But then when I closed my eyes again, they were still there. And it was, right, it was not just like a shadow. It wasn't, it was so strong. It was like, it was more of a 3D silhouette kind of thing. Sorry, I'm getting so excited. I'm so passionate about this, right? I've told a couple of people about it, but like, yeah. But anyway, the energy, it didn't feel threatening in any way. It was actually quite comforting, and I just kind of knew what was going on. Do you know what I mean? I kind of knew what was going on. I was like, okay, let's just let them check me out a bit, maybe they're coming to heal me. I don't know. This is what was going through my mind at the time. But it became apparent that obviously they were coming from another dimension, because they live in higher dimensions, these extraterrestrials, should we call them. for them to come into our 3D world is very uncomfortable for them. Our dimension, and it's too dense for them. So they come through other dimensions. I don't necessarily know enough about it, but I've got a good understanding of it anyway. But yeah, so I ended up going to sleep that night. Nothing really happened. I didn't see these beings again until there was about, I think it was about 2 weeks after this. Okay, right. So this time I was lying down to go to sleep again, and this time I felt an energy, right, and there was something that was there again, but this time it felt quite intimidating, right? I'll be honest, it felt quite intimidating. It was a very, very strong, overpowering energy. I didn't necessarily feel scared, but I felt very cautious. What I was thinking at the time was, because obviously it was not the same beings that I'd met a couple of weeks before this. So what I was thinking was like, oh, maybe they just need to make sure I'm not a threat. Maybe they're just kind of on guard. Maybe this is just their energy. I didn't necessarily think that they were a threat to me, and obviously they weren't, because they left, and and I've not had contact with these beings or anything like that since, really. But what I mean is, I've not had a physical interaction like I did, the same as that. So yeah, that's just another thing. I don't know whether that was connected. I don't know whether that happened because I'd consciously tried to communicate with this either aeroplane, whatever it was. So it may be connected, it may not be. But yeah, so okay, back to the bit that we were talking about. Okay, so feeling energy in my hands, things like that. Feeling energy in my hands and things like that. But yes, so I'd moved away from the Wirral where I was living, and where I was living now, one day I woke up and I had a pain in my leg, so I went to the hospital to get it checked out. This is kind of irrelevant, but it's kind of not at the same time. I had an ultrasound done on my leg, and I could hear on this ultrasound, okay, and obviously I've recently become aware of energy and frequencies and things like this, and I could hear the frequency of the ultrasound, when it was pressed on my leg, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, is that my frequency? That's my frequency. But yeah, so then, okay, and then I got back home, and I think it was the next day, me and some friends were watching this thing in the lounge. We were watching, Builders of the Ancient Mysteries. So it's about, these caves that no one knows where they've come from. It felt like another kind of synchronicity, okay, because synchronicities were happening. When I say synchronicities, you might think of this as coincidences, but these are really orchestrations of the universe, okay? But anyway, we were watching this thing, and they were showing the caves, and these caves were perfectly made and produced a certain frequency. And when I heard on the TV this frequency that played, it felt like something else awoken inside me. Okay, so something further awoken inside me, right? And I got straight up, I went to the kitchen, made coffee, And I'm trying to think of a way to explain this that doesn't sound completely bonkers. Right, so just like I felt the instinctual desire to go and walk in the grass, felt this instinctual desire to telepathically communicate, all of a sudden I felt this instinctual desire to try and make the coffee move with my mind. It was, I felt as though this is something that I can do. Like, this is something in that moment, I know I can do this. Do you know what I mean? I know that, yeah, I don't really know how to explain it properly, but I know that there's other people who have had the same awakening that I have, and that's how they've discovered their abilities, because something's woke up in them and they've thought, oh, let me just try and move that, it just randomly out of nowhere. But obviously when everyone had finished watching the film and they'd kind of like come back into the kitchen, I'm sat there with my cup of coffee trying to make it move with my mind, and I'm like this, and so everyone's looking at me like I've got two heads. Like, everyone's like, what the fuck are you doing? Sorry, excuse my language. Like, what are you doing? So yes, it occurred to me that I looked absolutely batshit crazy. Okay, I accept that. I know. But at the same time, I knew that I could do this. But because I was surrounded by people that were looking at me like I was crazy, I stopped. I even at some point like considered that. No, I never considered that I was wrong in what I was thinking. But I thought, what's the point? Like, people are just gonna laugh at me, because I know how what's the word I'm looking for? I know how unrealistic it seems, okay, and I would have never thought this would ever be possible. If you'd have told me 2 years ago that things like this would be possible, and that the third eye was real, and that God was real, and the universe is, working in the ways it does, I wouldn't have believed you. It wasn't until I experienced it myself. Do you know, and I don't know why it happened to me. I am so grateful that it happened to me. It's an absolute gift. I feel so blessed, and when this had happened, I just wanted to share it with the world. I wanted people to know the truth. I wanted people to know their true nature and to be able to feel the things that I was. And it really disheartened me, and it really upset me for a very long time, because people couldn't experience what I was experiencing, and I didn't know how to make people experience it. I tried to try and wake people up, but it doesn't work like that. So even to this day, as much as I am so grateful for this gift or thing that I have, this awakening that I've had, I still find it very frustrating. I really find it frustrating, because it's kind of lonely. I know there's other people out there who, understand, what it is I'm going through. I know that there's other people who are experiencing it, but, like, the vast majority, like, aren't, unfortunately. When I had this awakening, I was quite suspicious. Because I was like, how do people not know about this? Like, how do people not know? But yeah, so at that time, this was probably about 10 months